On this episode of UTR, we take a look at 5 Michigan companies who stepped up, set up, and came to the rescue against COVID-19. You'll see a social lubricant turned hand sanitizer, mouth guards that make a difference, and tents retooled for triage. Then some sewing for safety and face shields that fight back. Get ready to meet the cool people and rethought things that make Michigan a proud place to be. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation is dedicated to enabling economic prosperity. The MEDC markets Michigan with the focus on growing businesses and building resilient communities in our state.
DestinationAnnArbor.org is your gateway to Chelsea, Dexter, Manchester, Milan, Saline, Ypsilanti, and Ann Arbor. Find out the best spots to eat, festivals to attend, activities to do, and places to discover at DestinationAnnArbor.org.
I've been around the world, but there's one place I keep coming back to. And the more I explore, the more I realize it's the place to be. I'm Tom Dalton, and this is Under the Radar, Michigan.
In trying times, most of us just try to cope, maintain, and take care of our own. But there are certain individuals who are innovative, step up, set up, and try to help other people. Well, this is the story of 5 Michigan companies who saw a need, found a way, and came to battle a pandemic that's changed the way we all live, work, and try to play. And it's been tough, but let's face it, we have to move forward, carry on, live our lives, and do the best we can to stay safe. And these fabulous 5 are helping us do just that. So without further ado, let's see exactly what it is they did do. Now, during a pesky pandemic, a glass of bourbon will get you through a lot. But there's another spirit that'll help even more. A lot more. It's called hand sanitizer. And when the good folks at Ironfish Distillery in Thompsonville had to do that inconvenient COVID close down, they didn't miss a beat. They took the very essence of their endeavor, reworked it, and started distilling and distributing a hefty hand sanitizer that kills that confounded COVID dead. Dave Wallace and his wife Heidi Bolger are just 2 of the passionate Iron Fishketeers who pulled up their sleeves and put their potent potable pots to good use.
Well, first of all, I have to say, besides the potent potables you guys produce here, which are incredible, the atmosphere that you guys have created and the whole culture here is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that by design or just it happened by accident?
If we look back at the way that this all came about, there was a lot of different steps involved in it, and one of the big decisions we made, and I think a fantastic decision, was to actually put it on this dirt road and not try to put it inside of town.
I'll send you the bill for having my car washed. So during this whole crazy COVID calamity, what have you guys done? I understand that you sort of flipped and you're doing some things to help out.
Yes, of course, when the announcement came that we could not run the retail part of our operation, our tasting room and food operation then, but there was a significant need for personal protective things like sanitizer, right? And so you see the equipment around us. It was an amazing, quick transformation because this guy's a science guy to figure out how to do that, right? And so that was great because that allowed us to keep some people productive until we were ready to then transition to Carside to Go. We did some beautiful construction with the help of the team to create some beautiful shade space, and here we are.
Yeah, and it's really not that difficult. Once you get in sort of the routine, you throw on your mask, you go into a place, you say hi, you sit down at your table, you take your mask off. As long as you socially distance, you use the hand sanitizer. You just do, once you get into the swing of it, it's really easy. It's not a big deal.
No, and we have the benefit of having all this property. So being able to do that in the out of doors is amazing. Of course, as we go into the winter months, we need to have Plan B, which we're working on.
Well, again, thanks for what you guys are doing to help with this whole COVID thing. Because hand sanitizer is so important. People don't realize how important it really is. And the fact that some of it smells like tequila, I actually like. But thanks for doing your part, because a lot of people, they don't know what to do, and you guys very quickly turned things around and did something to really help. So it means a lot. And thanks for your wonderful potent potables as well.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
We'll keep making them.
Thank you.
So next time you pour yourself a good stiff drink, or any beverage for that matter, hold your glass high and make a toast to the fantastic folks at Ironfish Distillery, because they're working hard to make sure that we're not only happy, but healthy as well. Bonus.
Now next up, we've got a company that produces state-of-the-art mouth protection for athletes around the world. But when the going got tough, well, you know what they did.
That's right. Even though Akerbal Technologies in Saline is dedicated to protecting your mouth, when the global pandemic hit, they regrouped, retooled, and decided to give old COVID a swift kick in the teeth. Yep, CEO Sasa Akerbal and her team didn't pause. They pivoted and started producing much-needed protective face shields for the medical profession. And the rest is, well, simply saving lives.
Sasa, thank you so much for joining us and for letting us invade your world virtually with Zoom. But before we get to this whole COVID thing, just give us a little bit more of an idea what your company does.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. First of all, Akerbal Technologies, we do dental protection, I usually say, for sports and dentistry and for certain medical procedures. It was developed in the operating room by my husband, Jan Akerbal, who is an ENT doctor. So he developed this because there was virtually nothing in the operating room.
And you do it for sports, you do it for the military, you do it for medical purposes. What you've developed is amazing. And then COVID came along.
Yeah, not military, just dentistry. Yes, COVID came, and so 80% of our business is actually made up from sports sales to sports different channels. And of course, when when COVID hit, our sales dwindled naturally.
Yeah.
So we needed to find another way to keep the lights on. And one of my coworkers, my fabulous COO, she came up to me, or actually she texted me very early one morning and said, "Hey, let's make face shields." And it was 5 a.m. and I'm like, okay, I don't know about that. But it took 12 days and we were up and running. It really was.
Well, I read a quote of yours that I absolutely love. Just waiting for things to change isn't going to change anything. And I love that. The fact that you guys pivoted, didn't even skip a beat, and decided to do something that was going to make a difference. And that's commendable.
Well, thank you. You know, I have to give credit to my team. We're all used to be flexible and nimble and turn on a dime, but this was actually, I attribute everything we've done to them because they came up with it. They found the vendors, and I was just a face.
And you got a lot of help from other people around. Like, didn't the Ann Arbor T-shirt company also jump on board?
Yes, they did. We partnered up with them from the very beginning, and they actually took some of the face shields and manufactured themselves because they also needed something to do with their, the guys wanted to keep their employees busy.
What's the first thing you're going to do when this whole crazy thing is over?
Walk around without a mask, maybe?
Yeah, this has been tough.
If we ever get to that. I don't know if we're ever going to get to that.
Oh, I think we eventually will. It's been killing me because I'm a hugger and I love people, and it's just been tough. But anyway.
Yeah, that elbow thing is just, it's not a good substitute.
Ouch, it hurts. I hate it. So anyway, thanks for what you guys are doing. It means a lot to everybody out there that needs it. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, as you just saw, Sasa and the valiant crew at Akerbal didn't just wait for change, they helped make change and save lives. Because in Michigan, we have a habit of doing the right thing. And I think that's pretty cool.
Now, when the pandemic hit, a lot of us got kind of tentative, including yours truly, and didn't know quite what to do. But here's a company that got Tent active and started producing something for the medical community they really needed.
TentCraft in Traverse City makes all kinds of tents for special events. You name it, and they'll put a tent over it. But what doctors fighting the coronavirus needed was something different. They needed specially configured triage tents for testing and treatment. So Matt Bullock and his fellow tent inventors got out their scissors and started stitching.
So how long has TentCraft been around?
13 years. So 2007, I was working in New York with the stepson of a gentleman that owns a company in town here called Britton Banners. And Paul Britton would come to town and he would take the young guys out for dinner and drinks. And one night, over beers, he said, "How do you like Wall Street?" I said, "I hate it. I'm working my butt off. A bunch of people I work with are jerks. My apartment stinks." And he said, "Well, what do you really want to do?" And I said, "I'd love to do something entrepreneurial." And Paul called me a few weeks later and said, "Listen, there's a great product. It's a tent. My team doesn't want to do it, but if you want to do it, it'll be your company. I'll bankroll it. Let's see what we can do."
And you love Michigan, right?
I love Michigan. I will say to move from Manhattan to Traverse City when I was 26 and single was eye-opening with no Michigan connections whatsoever. But I met my now wife here. We moved to the West Coast for a few years and then have a young family here now with 3 kids, and there's no better place to raise a family than Traverse City, Michigan.
Now, you guys make all kinds of tents or just event tents?
So pre-COVID, our specialty was really outdoor mobile marketing. So there were a lot of companies that made big white tents for a wedding, and our tents had printing primarily. So 99.9% of our tents would be printed. So typically it would be Nike sponsoring a marathon, and they want 26 tents, once every mile to give out water.
What inspired you to make the switch and start doing these medical tents?
So it was a pivot for us, but really a customer segment pivot, because we've created a few new products, but what's really kept the lights on for us has been tents with different configurations, either as mobile infirmaries, as drive-through testing stations
like
with
triage
different walls,
tent,
triage tents. In February, I watched the news anyway, and I was becoming concerned about COVID with a number of friends from business school that were international in places that were hitting them much harder, such as Northern Italy. As it picked up in intensity and then started to affect us in the US, I was watching the news and I saw these mobile drive-through testing centers that they had in South Korea that were tents. And I thought that is just such a smart idea, that people stay in their car instead of going into the hospital or going to the doctor's office.
And you're thinking, what company could do something like that?
Exactly. But what I saw in Korea was they were all white tents and it was chaotic. So they had parking lots and cars were pointed in different directions and people were coming and going, and even in the news footage, people were honking. And so I said, we could do that better, because we could actually create products for drive-through testing. And the MEDC was a big support. We applied for and received a PPE retooling grant that in the early days, when all our events went to nothing and we were trying to figure out new products, just gave me some certainty that we could, this was before the PPP loan came out, gave me the certainty that we're gonna have a little bit of a buffer and a little bit of padding to be able to develop some of the stuff instead of just, cutting a bunch of people and turning the lights off and saying, we'll try to come out on the other side.
The turnaround time, you guys are turning these around like 3 days?
Yeah, and we've done stuff same day, just depending on our capacity, but because we are one of the only US manufacturers, we are the only US manufacturer of pop-up style tents. Everyone else is manufactured in China or in South America. And because we manufacture, we buy the aluminum, we cut it, we machine it, we assemble it, as you've seen. We are able to create bigger sizes, we are able to create custom shapes.
I mean, Michigan companies like yours makes me proud and happy that I live here.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. Thanks for all that you're doing. Thanks for being interested in our story here in Traverse City.
It's my job.
Well, this is my job.
What Matt and his team at TentCraft are doing for all of us is amazing. They're looking forward, finding a way, and making a difference for people around the world. And they're doing it right here in Michigan. And if that doesn't make you love where you live, I don't know what will.
A lot of different sports use shields and face masks for protection, but here's a sportswear company that started making the most important ones of all.
I'm of course talking about Addicts custom sportswear near Grand Rapids. And when COVID came calling, They did absolutely no stalling by immediately offering a whole line of masks and face shields designed to help keep our first responders and hospital heroes safe and protected. Owner Steve Dean gave me some insight into their methods and motivations.
So Steve, let's get into my Wayback Machine and go back about a year from right now. What was life like at Addicts Sportswear back then?
Well, I would say it was pretty, pretty normal in that, we were serving our sportswear customers and we were coming out with some new products, but basically we were on target to hit our business plan. And we were looking at various investments to the business around new tooling, some software to help support our manufacturing activity. But things were pretty normal, and we were operating pretty smoothly.
Yeah, and then as we all know, the world came to a screeching halt with COVID, and all of a sudden, all that sportswear business, it just disappeared.
Yeah, it came to a complete stop. I was in California on a customer visits. It was March 2nd or 3rd.
Well, when did that light bulb go off in your head when you realized that, you know what, I can keep my people employed and we can help because of what we do and what we have?
We were talking to one of our customers and he said, really, you guys ought to start making masks. And it was like we froze.
Ding.
Yeah. It was like, I think everybody in the room wished it was their idea, but it was such a great idea. And we just stopped. And I can tell you, we launched in the afternoon on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
That was quick.
200-ish masks. And then the next day we sold 220 masks. Thursday we sold 434 masks. I remember this like it was yesterday. Friday we sold 7,000 masks. Saturday we sold 20,000 masks. And on the following Monday, we sold 27,000 masks. And
whoa!
So the dog had caught the bus. So we went from this slowdown to, hiring additional sewers, working 7 days a week, basically running a 7x24 operation in the span of 2 weeks.
That's what I love about your stories. You went from, I can see that moment where you went from panic, like, oh my gosh, everything I've worked so hard for is crumbling and going away, to all of a sudden it just exploded. And the fact that you could save your business, hire more people, keep your existing people employed, and do something to help is awesome. It's a great story.
Short story, we didn't have any pay rollbacks or anything like that. We kept everybody at the same rate of pay. We hired 28, I think, people in addition to what we had. And we also gave away masks and face shields and face gaiters to various organizations in need who didn't have the funds. And we also almost $30,000 in cash to various organizations that were in need. So we feel very fortunate.
You, my friend, did not make lemonade out of lemons. You made margaritas out of lemons. So yeah, it's a great, great story, what you guys have done.
I think everybody, I've got a young team. I think everybody's extremely excited, energized, and if anything, I think we're stronger as a unit coming out of this than I think we would have been if we just, maintained a steady state.
Well, it does my heart good to hear a success story come out of all what's been going on, because it's been tough on all of us. So thanks so much for what you guys did. And as soon as I get good at sports, I'm going to order some of your sportswear.
Well, I'm sure you're good at something. We make bowling shirts, we make handball shirts, we make pickleball shirts. So there's something for everybody out there. If I can wear, Addicts sportswear, I'm sure you can as well. So.
Well, I'll try and represent.
Addicts Sportswear is just one more prime example of Michigan pride and ingenuity rearing its handsome head. And if you live here in Michigan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thanks, Addicts.
Now, last but certainly not least is an innovative Detroit company that proves without a shadow of a doubt that if you care, a stitch in time saves lives.
They call it the Industrial Sewing and Innovation Center, aka ISIC. It's a nonprofit apparel manufacturing and training production hub that caught COVID totally off guard by quickly pivoting and making isolation gowns for the entire medical community. Jen Guarino is the passionate CEO here at Isaac who saw the need and led the charge for change.
I have to admit, what you're doing here is very innovative, which is a good thing because it's in your name. But for those who aren't in the know, just explain the overall concept and mantra of this place.
Sure. So essentially, we are a place where we can ceaselessly pursue innovation in people and industry.
Right.
And we can do that as a National Institute for the Sewn Trades, for a nonprofit. So we have two basic pillars of what we do. One is training and ongoing education, and the other is that innovation piece. So how does that play out in this building? It means that we are training people on traditional skills, but then we also train them for the skills required for advanced technology, where the industry is headed. So they have an on-ramp to upskill for higher paying careers. And then we have a learning factory, which is actually a full-scale contract manufacturing facility that allows for on-the-job training. So we have Department of Labor apprenticeship programs, and it helps to fund all of our training.
Are you paying attention? Because this is complicated, but that's what I love about this place. I originally thought this was just a place where you sewed garments, period. But you're creating futures for people, you're expanding this industry, you're doing so much, and you're actually above the Carhartt store in downtown Detroit.
We are above the Carhartt store, and they have built out this beautiful space because they too believe that the industry needs to change, and we wanted to design something that showed how it could and should be.
Yeah.
So that's why, why is it only Silicon Valley that gets to give people great places to work? Why not our industry?
And I mean, you guys are a startup, you're fairly new, 5-6 months old, which is how old COVID is. I was gonna say you start things up, then
Yes.
COVID came along, but
Yeah.
you did an extraordinary thing. You guys actually pivoted to do something good for the medical industry.
Yes. So technically we got fully operational in April, kind of bad timing.
Yeah.
But we had spent 3 years developing this concept of Isaac and fundraising and so on and so forth. And in that time, we developed really great relationships with industry and a network. And then we developed relationships with governmental agencies.
Oh, the
and the
MEDC.
mayors, MEDC, Pure Michigan Business Connect. And so when COVID landed on our shores, we said, well, we have two choices. We're either mothball this until we know what to do, because we know we can't make apparel right now. But then we thought, well, that would be irresponsible. We have all the resources to actually channel them to make PPE. So we connected with MEDC, we connected with a number of contacts, and then we brought our industry together. And what we did was we went out and we worked with Detroit Medical Center to design a gown. So we hadn't designed a gown before, so we said, please help us help you. And we designed a gown. We went out and we procured material in bulk. We learned as fast as we could. And then we brought all this material in, we cut it, we kit it, and then we distributed it to all these cut and sew facilities to help us make gowns. So we helped to protect people because of the garments we were making, but we also protected jobs and businesses. These were businesses that were likely to be shuttered had they not have work during COVID, and they were able to operate as essential businesses. So it was great to be able to do good on several fronts. Even though it was very not the way we envisioned launching, we had all the resources to respond. So, it was our great fortune to be able to do that good. And now, by default, it brought together our industry in a way that those partnerships are going to continue.
I was going to say, this pandemic threw us all a big curve, but kudos to you for taking it, running with it, adapting to it, and doing good things for your people and other people. So nicely done.
Thank you very much. Well, this crew here worked around the clock for many, many months when most people were either not working or on the front lines. We were on a different kind of front lines. But we did it, and we were happy to do some good while we could. Carhartt gave us this beautiful space. What a shame to have it just sitting there during a time we could do something about it. So, yeah.
Good people, seriously good people.
With all hands on deck, Jen and the entire team at the Industrial Sewing and Innovation Center helped take a bad situation and turn it into a chance to help, grow, and teach. And by example, they're keeping people safe and moving Detroit forward.
But that's easy to understand because you know what they say, when the going gets tough, Michigan companies get going because our work ethic works overtime.
And as for these 5 caring companies, well, they just gave Made in Michigan a whole new meaning. And for that, they get a big thank you from all of us. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation is dedicated to enabling economic prosperity. The MEDC markets Michigan with the focus on growing businesses and building resilient communities in our state.
DestinationAnnArbor.org is your gateway to Chelsea, Dexter, Manchester, Milan, Saline, Ypsilanti, and Ann Arbor. Find out the best spots to eat, festivals to attend, activities to do, and places to discover at DestinationAnnArbor.org.